So in this video, I wanted to take a quick look at a pretty cool pen that you probably haven't seen before, and that is the Pilot Super Grip G, and I have it in the XB, or extra broad, which is a 1.6mm ballpoint. So the Pilot Super Grip is kind of like an updated version of the Pilot BPS, or the Better pen, or kind of like the Rex Grip, if you've seen that. It's also sold in a retractable. This is obviously the stick or capped version. The Rex Grip would be the equivalent of the retractable version. So it's a really simple pen, mainly sold, from what I could tell, in the EU and Australia. And it usually sells for like under $1, under a European pound, or sorry, a Great British pound. I'm not sure the price equivalent in Australia, but like in that dollar type range. Again, it's a very simple all plastic ballpoint pen. Translucent plastic cap, pretty nice looking. There's that super grip. You can see it has a sort of sneaker pattern. It's very cool looking in my opinion. At the front, you can see how the refill sticks out. The fit doesn't look great. There's no taper here. It looks very low budget, but that makes sense when you find out the pen could sell for like, under €1. And this is just it's not soft and rubbery. It's definitely rubbery, but there's no give to it. And then we can see the body, very cool looking. The refill is a skinny old school ballpoint pen refill. It barely takes up any of the body, and it's just press fit in here. It's hilariously long. Here's a refill next to a Sharpie. The refill is longer than the Sharpie. It's kind of crazy. So, and again, there's no springs in this at all. This just press fits in here, and this screws down in here. And when you're writing, this is back stopped by this, and that's it. Very simple. Then you have the situation like this where this whole body is pretty much empty except for the refill just kind of floating around in there. It's not a big deal, just very low budget design, which is fine. And then it's just a sort of a nice taper. It's kind of interesting. It looks like this would be good to fill with fountain pen ink, but obviously it wouldn't work, but it kind of looks like that sort of style. Kind of like a preppy crystal, something like that. Anyway, you can see it is the Pilot XB 1.6mm. That's the extra broad. I bought it in blue, also sold in red and black. The BPS is actually in the name. So BPS is kind of what Pilot calls their better pen or better pen system or something like that. And we've talked about those in the past in these videos. That's usually a hard plastic body pen with some sort of very simple ballpoint label. So this is just a slight riff on that. And then you can see it's kind of a coarse thread. So this thing is long, but it screws in quickly. And then goes down. Again, this thing is just, it looks like the refill is just a little bit too long. I'll probably cut that down in the coming days just to get this fit a little bit better. Pen cap snaps on using those little hard plastic nubs right there. That's all there is to it. Again, very simple. Let's just get into the writing since there's really not much else to it, except, actually, let's do some side comparisons, which this thing is on the long side and it looks a little bit strange. So here's it capped next to a Sharpie. Here's it capped next to a Dr. Grip. Here's it capped next to a rather large pen. This is a Zebra clip-on multi-pen. And it's even longer than this big 4-in-1. So you can see it's definitely a substantial pen. Let's see what else we have. Here's it next to a giant Sharpie. It's longer than the Sharpie, clearly not as large. Anyway, it is a rather long pen. It doesn't feel weird when you're writing. It's just, it extends more than you'd expect. It is comfortable. I actually really do like the grip. That's why I bought this thing in the first place. The Super Grip is very comfortable. It feels nice in your hand. It's grippy without being obnoxious, and I really like that pattern, that sort of sneaker pattern. It's really cool, at least to me, when they put it on pens. My favorite of the sneaker patterns on pens remains the Acro, which uses this crosshatch pattern. I think that's really well done. And they even tapered this, which is an added bonus for me. And you could find that on something like this Acro Ball 4, or even just a plain Jane Acro. Back to the Super Grip, and we're using Pilot's new, or newish. I believe this ink, even though it's a standard ballpoint ink, has been reformulated over the years. So the new ones I have write much more smoothly than the old ones, like the old Rex grips, which I used to buy and always hate. So this is the Pilot Super Grip XB. It's actually the Super Grip G. I'm not sure if there's a normal Super Grip, but let's keep in mind this is the Super Grip G. You can kind of hear it tapping. That's just because this fit in that little aperture there is not quite perfect. So just wiggles the slightest bit, and that will cause it to tap. So it's a little bit annoying, and a spring would usually reduce that to some extent, but that kind of just comes with the territory. It's not a lot. You can't really feel the play, but you could hear it. I will say this is a very smooth ballpoint. The Pilot says this is a standard ballpoint with no lubricant or anything like that. They don't mention that. They just say it's a ballpoint. It seems almost too smooth to be a ballpoint. And they do mention it's oil-based ink. But at this point, ballpoint, oil-based, it's not really clear what everyone's doing. So it's as close to a standard ballpoint pen as you're going to get these days, except if you're going for a legacy model like a Bic Crystal. But it's super smooth, really nice to write with, and you can see it has just like a very saturated color. It looks really nice to me. I wanted to compare it to sort of the like the top end of the extra broad ballpoints, and that's the Schneider Slider Rave XB. This is just a really nice higher end German ballpoint, and again it is an XB, so it should be a comparable size. I think the Schneider is technically a 1.4mm, not a 1.6, but it'll be a good comparison nonetheless. So this is the Slider Rave XB, the Schneider Slider Rave, and we'll compare it to the Super Grip G. I could tell you right now, the Super Grip is the wider of the two and the smoother of the two. A lot of that smoothness comes from it being brand new. I've only had this pen for a little bit. The Schneider I've had for some time. Some of the newest also comes from being a newer formulation of ink. I don't know the specifics there, but my guess is some changes have been made. And then lastly, this is a slightly thicker refill. So that extra 0.1mm actually may not be any thicker. It's hard to tell. They look about the same. Schneider might even have the edge. It's hard to tell because you don't want to look at this taper section. You actually want to look at the ball. So I think actually looking at the ball, the Super Grip does have the edge. So Super Grip, darker, smoother, and I think more pleasant to write with. So definitely really solid, and may have unseated the Schneider. The Schneider's nice because it comes in a Parker G2 style refill, which is super handy. That means you could bring this to a lot of different pens, like a Parker Jotter, for example. This refill, you're really stuck with this thing, and you're limited to a very small selection of pens. If you were to write with this for a couple weeks, or a couple days at least, and get this ink to be down towards the halfway range, then you could cut this down and put it in a few different pens, like an Alpha Grip, or an Alpha Gel rather. But with it being brand new, there's not much you could do with it. And these things take a long time to slow down, even to wear down, even in extra broad. So that is the Pilot Super Grip G XB. Really nice pen, great value for the money. they're not sold in your location, you could buy them off eBay for about $3 each. You know, it's like highway robbery, but considering, you know, charging 3x the price, but considering in absolute dollars, it's only gonna cost you an extra buck or two. It's really not that bad, and that's shipped, so pretty good deals. I like this pen a lot. Not sure about the size and the aesthetics, but fun to write with. So if you like the Bic Crystal Extra Broad, the bold one, this is a good one to check out. Thanks for watching.